Folks, back again, 107 part 2. We're talking about this psychic guy, and I was getting ready to say this is one of the things that really ticks me off. You know, your religion ticks me off, but the other part of it is, you know, here's a shyster who evidently, according to this, set up some kind of non-profit religious group, you know, to hose these people, and basically, I would imagine if it's set up by you know, that he has certain tax advantages, and you know, he's just you know, a creep, and you wonder why people get ticked off about religion, and they say, why should, you know, religions be exempt from taxes in doing what regular businesses do? And here's a really good example. No telling how many of these things are out there. But anyway, getting back to this, by the way, there was the New York Times. Where are we? Okay. And they spend a little bit of time about saying how his predictions were so far off. But oh, this is good. Neither of the Mortons could be reached for comment on Thursday, but as part of a 2009 lawsuit aimed at halting an SEC investigation, the Mortons argued that they were the targets of two or more dishonest and incompetent SEC employees who apparently need to justify a trip to California in order to visit Disneyland and eat In-N-Out burgers at the taxpayer's expense. That one was dismissed by the judge in December. So one of the things I have an interest in and hope to do some segments on, if I can ever gather myself up and try and figure this stuff out, is how is it that intelligent, bright people fall for stuff like this? You know, a guy claiming to be a psychic. You know, we oftentimes, or a lot of people I think that everyone who goes to a psychic is some kind of ignorant person who didn't get past the 3rd grade. But that's not the case. Or that people who go to energy healers, you know, are just ignorant people. But that's not the case. You know, you have pretty bright people, pretty educated people who are buying into all of it. The astrology, the numerology, on and on and on. You know, all of that junk. And so the question is how does that happen? And this guy got $6 million, and of course it doesn't say how much the largest investor lost, you know, the investor who, in other words, what was the most that one investor invested or anything. But you better believe it that some of these people, you know, are pretty bright people. But yet they're giving their money to a guy who claims he's a psychic and can see what the stock market has done. I mean, how do they do that? I don't know, but and I've got several books I've, you know, tried to wade through about how people believe things that aren't true or real or whatever term you want to use, and a bunch of those. And yeah, I sort of know about the confirmation bias. I throw that out once in a while. But I guess there's the two aspects of it that I'm going to wrap this baby up. The two aspects of it are, number one, how can a relatively intelligent person buy into astrology or something of that nature? And number two, how is it that, for instance, I would imagine that, I don't know what percent, but I would imagine there's a certain percentage of like these energy healers, and in fact most likely a high percentage I would imagine, who actually feel as though what they're doing is helping people. Now obviously it's not helping anybody. The question is how do they do this? In other words, how does that click in their mind? What do they do to feel as though this stuff works? In other words, what's that mechanism? What goes on that would allow someone to think that they can go like this and shoot energy across oceans? You know, like the Reiki people who do that so-called distance healing. In other words, what kind of mechanism is at work when people do that and actually feel as though they're helping someone? Excuse me. And conversely, or not conversely, but also I'm sure there are psychics, so-called, out there who actually feel as though they're psychic. And how can that be? In other words, what's the mechanism how does that work, you know? I think that's the really fascinating thing about all this complementary crap and all the astrology and all the junk New Age BS. You know, those two things. How is it that a fairly bright, intelligent person who has a responsible job, who might have a master's degree or a PhD for crying out loud, I know of someone with a PhD in chemistry who buys those daggone Nikon magnets or something, Nikkon. They're supposed to be they're really. So that's the question, and I hope I'll learn more about that, and because that's really the fascinating part of all this, you know. But anyway, I babbled on and on long enough, and as Pat Condell would say, ladies and gentlemen, peace, peace, and by the way. If a psychic comes to you and wants to invest your money, due diligence, watch yourself. Take care, ladies and gentlemen. Bye.